101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book The Man in the Stone Cottage. It's none other than Miss Stephanie Cowell. Welcome, Stephanie, on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I miss?
Okay, I'm Stephanie, and I live in New York City. I was born in New York City, and I am speaking to you from my apartment where I've lived for 50 years, long time. And this is my seventh novel, and I adore history, and I've written about many artists from the past. And this time I decided to write about the two sisters, Emily and Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights. And they wrote those 178 years ago, and they are still very fast sellers. Even though Wuthering Heights was not when it was first published, it was kind of shocked people. So my novel is about the sisters overcoming the difficulties of their lives and struggling for years to get published and looking for love, and they finally got published. And Charlotte, of course, fell in love with someone who couldn't love her back. And Emily wandered onto the moors, the wild land outside of their home in northern England, and found a stone cottage. And in it was a charming man, a shepherd. And she becomes very close to him. The only problem is no one else has ever seen him. And as the book goes on, we, the reader, and even Emily, begins to wonder who this man is. Is he real? Is he part of her imagination? She shakes his hand, and his hand is warm, and he is a mystery. So the book goes into that mystery, the solving of that mystery, and also into the adventures of the three sisters. There were three sisters who all wrote brilliant books and went on from total obscurity in their parsonage home in Haworth, Yorkshire, England, where you can still visit today. And they wanted to be able to pay the rent and stay there, so they wrote books. So that's
Uh,
basically story of my novel.
yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Stephanie. Thank you. And tell us. The title Man in the Stone Cottage is wonderfully evocative. What is the initial image or idea that sparked this entire story? What is the main cottage or a specific feeling you wanted to capture?
Well, as I said, I wanted to. When I was 23 years old, I had read these books, Wuthering Heights and Jane Eyre. And so I traveled from New York City all alone, and went to London and took the bus up to this little town, which you can visit, Haworth. And it is an amazing little town. It's where they lived with their father in a home. And they there's one main street, which is all cobblestones. It's very steep. And when I went there a few years ago again to visit, it's my third time or fourth time, I walked up those streets, and it was twilight. And when you get to the house where they lived, it's just the same as when they lived there. And um, outside their house is a graveyard, and in the graveyard is overhung with these trees. And it was twilight, and the magpies were cawing. And I said to myself, "My gosh, this was so mysterious, so otherworldly." I said, "I is this some kind of a stage set?" But no, it was exactly as we have photographs today, as it was 178 years ago. Very wonderful. And so from this image, I went home and wrote my book.
Miss Stephanie, stone cottages often symbolizes solitude, resilience, or a connection to the past. What does the cottage itself represent in the story, and why was the setting so essential?
I think, well, Probably in my own life when I was younger, I had the occasion to stumble across a broken down cottage, and indeed this cottage, when Emily first finds it at the age of 12, is all broken down, and she goes into it and she makes up things, and she uses her imagination, and she sees a vision of the lovely shepherd who she will find as an adult, and then she does go back to it. It's all restored. It is solitude. It is the solitude of the mind. It is the place of the imagination. It is the possibility of a mysterious love with a very, very kind, interesting man. I think it's mainly she goes into herself, into her imagination, and this man appears. And whether he is totally real or partially real, every reader disagrees. It was a mysterious thing for me, and I simply loved writing it.
So, Miss Stephanie, tell us a central theme seems to be the tension between isolation and community. How does your protagonist navigate this, and what were they trying to say about the human need for both?
That is a wonderful question. Thank you. My goodness. Uh, Emily Bronte was a very solitary kind of person. And she loved her family. She loved her home, which you can, of course, still go in today and wander around and see her things there. And she needed her family. She didn't want anyone else really, except her family and her imagination. And she baked and she cooked and she helped them with financial things. And but the other part of her was this totally secret world. Her poems are really otherworldly, and of course, she wrote this very mysterious um, book set in the wild moors, Wuthering Heights. The um, the Stone Cottage, the Stone Cottage is kind of her imagination, her solitary world, and she allows this man in who she finds there and becomes very close to him indeed. They even eventually make some plans to marry, and he is going to come into the village of Haworth and ask her father. And of course, if he does that, um, he will break the boundary between is she imagining him or is he real. And so whether he gets to do that, I will not tell you. I'll let you find out. Um, he is both real and unreal. And I actually started, the reason I think I was kind of inspired to write this is that my own characters, when I write them, um, become so real to me. I cannot bear the thought that they did not really exist. And to me, they totally exist. And the previous book, I had written about two young men who were in love, and I went to England to actually visit the place where the novel was set in. And when I actually got there, I got sadder and sadder, and finally I just burst into tears, and my companion said to me, "What's the matter? Why are you crying?" And I managed to say, "I can't find them. They're not here." And so I think I'm a reasonably earth-centered person, uh, but I actually, in some part of me, expected that these people I had put into a novel, which actually takes place in like 1900, long time ago, would actually in some way be there to run forward and say, "Stephanie, there you are." That's kind of how close some of us writers get to these people we put into our novels. I still believe they're real.
Yes, indeed, they're real. And Miss Stephanie, the book grapples with legacy and weight of the past. Would you say your protagonist is running from his history or being pulled toward a different understanding of it?
Well, I think he's running from his history. It was very fascinating how when books come together, they, at least for me, I mean, I don't plan anything. It just kind of happens. And then a lot of stuff that I write doesn't work out, and I put in other stuff. So it's a complicated thing. But there's a um, an island. It's the farthest out into the ocean of the Scottish Islands. It is so far out that they had to take the last people who lived there off of it for their own safety, because there was no way to get there in the winter. And it was just very. It's called St Kilda's, and it's very very isolated. But in 1846, 47, when Emily Bronte meets her shepherd who says he's from St Kilda's. Uh, it was a very isolated island, and sometimes you couldn't get off of it for months because the sea was too rough approaching it. And I'd fallen in love with this island. I'll probably never go there because it's too arduous. It's too difficult to get to that island. But I've certainly read books on it, and when I began to write this book, I found that my shepherd, my character, was saying he was from St Kilda's, and of course that was very much in my mind and in my heart. So that's where that is where he is from, or says he is from.
Yes, indeed. And Miss Stephanie, without giving too much away, the story feels like a meditation on guilt and redemption. Do you believe true redemption is possible for your man in the cottage, and what would that require?
I think his redemption was Emily Bronte, who was even then writing her novel. Novel is nothing like him, but I think he was her. She was his redemption. She saw him isolated, um, in this place, and started to visit him and brought him, oh, scones and baked bread and all sorts of things that she thought he might need in his loneliness and his isolation, and mostly her comfort, and then eventually her love. And I believe that that's a really really interesting question, Daniel. I believe she was indeed his redemption. And of course, no spoilers. We all know that Emily died young, and so whatever she had with this character was incomplete. Um, yeah, it was sadly incomplete. And what he does, and if he is seen by anybody else, I will. Uh, he is actually, that I will leave you to read the book and find out, um, who he saw, and
Yes.
what he said, and then what he did.
Yes, people read the book itself. If the stone cottage is one character, the surrounding landscape feels like another. How do you use the natural world to reflect your protagonist's internal state?
Oh my goodness. Well, everybody knows, or most everybody knows, that the land, called the moors, the Yorkshire moors, around the house where Emily lived, with her sisters and her brother and her father, is very, very wild. Um, Even today, when they have paths on it, a good friend of mine who's a great hiker went out, to walk on it, and almost got lost and couldn't find her way back. And that's really, it still has, even now today, has that feeling about it. It's wild. The wind. The reason Wuthering Heights is called Wuthering Heights is because in Yorkshire the wind gets in the chimney and makes this scary moaning sound. And I heard it once, and I said, "What's that?" I was in Yorkshire, and heard it in the chimney. It was very haunted. So you feel the presence of ghosts, you feel the presence of the past, and it's wild, and it's, you kind of have to be redeemed from it almost. Emily loved it. She had no fear of it. She just went walking, walking for hours. And where did she walk? That's the question. That's the story of my book, Who She Found. Marvelous place.
A marvelous place. I hope you did not give us spoilers, Miss Stephanie.
I hope not.
And so the story unfold with careful, deliberate pace or pace. What is a challenge to maintain that rhythm while building a narrative tension, and how do you balance it?
It's a lot of work. You constantly I put three sentences in, I take two sentences out, I take the remaining sentence and I move it to the end. Then I don't like it there, and I move it to the beginning. And when she's beginning to talk about she thinks about her childhood and the wild storms, and then she thinks about when there was a big snow, and she thought that she imagined they'd all be buried in the house, and then 100 years later somebody would find the house, and and they'd be just the same, baking their bread and doing all their father winding the clock, and so I went a lot into her mind. But to tell you the truth, I when I wrote a lot of it, I was just bringing out my previous book, The Boy in the Rain, which I love so dearly, and I just don't know. I kind of fled to this book, to The Man in the Stone Cottage, as kind of a refuge, and I don't even remember putting together parts of it. It just kind of came to me and eventually fell into place. And a lot of people, uh, my writer friends, read it and gave me comments, and I rewrote it, and then, but I don't even remember. I don't ever remember. It comes when something comes together like that. It's so intense. You don't remember that it ever was in pieces, or was not ever in the form that it is now. It is truly, for me, novel writing is a truly mystical experience, particularly this novel, when I was writing about such a mystical person. And I also got to write about um, something that I know personally, the craziness when you're writing, and the people, again, they're so real. You feel them standing next to you, they're lying in bed next to you. You feel their body warmth. It is a very strange place to be, and I really do believe that Emily, when she wrote Wuthering Heights, and Charlotte, when she wrote Jane Eyre, went to that place, and knew that place, when standing across the room is the person from your book. It's totally, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's really, it's a wonderful feeling, to be able to capture that in some way. Yeah.
Interesting, Miss Stephanie. Yeah, and the ending leaves room for contemplation. Without prescribing an interpretation, what is one feeling or question you most hope lingers with the readers after they close the book?
Well, I hope they love the characters, and I hope they have a broader understanding of what is real. As my editor, who wrote the back copy, said, can something that is totally real to someone be real to someone else? And I think in the creation of these characters, like, just to say quickly, in Wuthering Heights, everybody is so fascinated by Heathcliff. Heathcliff is such a tormented man, and we see him striding in his long coat, over the moors. And I'd like Heathcliff to, I'd like him to understand. To me, Heathcliff is a real person. Heathcliff really existed. She just wrote about someone she knew, and that's probably not true. But people like Heathcliff or Hamlet are so real. It is really hard for me to believe that at one time, before the birth of the authors, maybe they were not yet seen by readers, and I don't believe in a way that they were created. I kind of believe that Shakespeare brought forth Hamlet from the darkness where he was hiding, and Emily Bronte brought forth Heathcliff. So that's my belief.
Yes, what a great, empowering answer, Mrs. Stephanie. So, to wrap up our discussion for today, if you could have one person, living or dead, read The Man in the Stone Cottage, who would it be and why?
Oh well, I think um, my late husband, to speak something rather emotional, because he was so incredibly supportive of my writing, and I think he would have loved it. We went to Howard together, and he I went inside the house. He wasn't particularly interested, but he waited by the gate that opens to the moors, that you have to open to if you want to go walking out on the moors. And when I came out, he was waiting by the moors for me. So I feel he was very, very much part of this book. So,
Yes, and lastly, Miss Stephanie, lastly but not the least, this book feels like a singular focus story. What are you exploring in your next project? Is it departure, an expansion, or side of ideas you began here?
oh well, I think all the things I write, now that I'm clearer, now that I wrote this book, really I'm bringing something into focus, which I believe is really there. Um, so, and exactly what book I'm going to finish next, I don't know. I've got three or four books which are calling to me, and I haven't entirely let go of this one yet. So I'm working here and there, and we will see. We will see.
Yes, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Stephanie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And can you please invite our listeners to support your book? Miss Stephanie, can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Oh, yes, please do. You can look up my website, which is www.stephaniecowell.com. And of course, you can buy it anywhere. Um, and of course, Amazon is probably the easiest, but it's also available from my publisher. So please do buy this, give it to a Bronte fan. Almost everybody's a Bronte fan, and it's gotten wonderful reviews. Please, please, please do share it. Thank you so much.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Stephanie. Yeah, because if you support her, for sure, more and more empowering novels like this to come. So, Miss Stephanie, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Likewise. More to come, people. See you soon.